and it's time now. I'm sure when you see this, you know it's time for me to share my blunt thoughts with you. This morning, I've titled it Ghana's Economy in Focus, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Ghana's Economy in Focus, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But please, let me preface what I'm about to say with this brawl in Parliament. Look, let me just say this. You could have voted for the MPP in the last election, 2024. You could be a card-bearing member of the MPP or just a supporter or fan. But I ask, do you genuinely feel the way some of these members of Parliament acted is the only way this issue could have been handled? Could the minority MPs not have simply walked away? Frank Anodompreh, chair on table lifting by the minority side, and the leg of that table broken. Who is going to pay for that? It's our taxpayers' money. I ask now, the majority side too, looking at how matters were degenerating into chaos, especially when Frank Anodompreh put a chair on the table. Why did they not just pause and likely also stand down or walk away? The signaling was clear when Anodompreh put the table on the chair. Why did the majority also play along, leading to the tussle, the eventual tussle between Hassan Tampuli and Roxy Nelson Dafeamekpo? Our legislators were telling us only a day before that they didn't take any forms of bribes before or after appointees' vettings. And I respect that view, including that of former First Deputy Speaker Joe Osei-Wusu. I've heard of many counter opinions, but that's fine. For MPs to put up such a shameful, better still, downright ignominious display just a day after such serious allegations had been brought to bear by the Appointments Committee. I mean, it just makes matters so much worse. Look, our dear parliamentarians, MPP and NDC, you should realize many Ghanaians are losing not just respect for, but faith in the bigger institution itself based on some of your actions. And the sooner you remedy these notions, the better. How can you see your honorable member of parliament, chair, tables, holding each other? These vetting times, they make no sense, respectfully. Some questions, and yes, Inus Husseini said it, and I'll reiterate, some of these questions are unnecessary. Why? Do what must be done. And I'm not subscribing to what has been done in the past when the likes of Ejako were grilled for hours. Will it take those hours? Who would have said that Ejako back then for Energy Ministry was not competent? Who would have said that? Barring everything that happened. He was competent. So let the person ask relevant questions, let the person through. But some bits about, and you saw it yesterday in the videos, people say, you see, and all of that. Anyway. But moving off from there, I just had to vent on that matter. When I come to our economy, why I'm focusing on our economy, I'll talk about cocoa, gold, and a few things happening in between in the sub-region. If you look at the trend of gold exports, in 2016, we're looking at 4.9 billion in terms of what we're accruing in USD. It moved up to 5.7 billion in 2017, fell to 5.4 billion. The trajectory followed, and now look at the difference, 4.9 billion, practically 5 billion. We're now standing at 11.6 billion. We've added about 6.7 billion on top of that by 2024. The question is, what has all of this done for us? And also, as we have dealt with gold, what has happened when it comes to cocoa? If you look at cocoa exports in USD, we've actually fallen 2.4 billion in 2016, 2.6 billion in 2017. It fell a bit. Then we rose to a high of $2.8 billion in the 2021-2022 season. Since that time, there's been a steady decline. We fell to 2.2 billion, 2.1, and now 1.6 billion, lower than throughout from 2016, a 9-year period. But there's more, because when you do the breakdown, you see a certain picture. In terms of gold, 2010 to 2024, in ounces, we're producing 2.97 million ounces in 2010. It rose to a high of about 4.7 million in the 2018-2019 period. Now we are looking at 4 million, which tells you that it's not necessarily how high production has been, but cost factors also are playing a role in there. Because you see, we are producing 4 million ounces. We're producing a high of 4.7 million. But the figure that you would see for 2024, 11.6 billion, tells you that, of course, because of cost, the rise of the price of gold, we are making more money. But then when you come to cocoa in tons, look at that. 0.879, this is what, 879,000 metric tons that we're producing. Went to a high of 0.969, 969,000 metric tons. And now it's fallen to a low. In fact, the highest was 1 million, 2021, 2022, 1 million. We crossed this. But look at where we are now. 550,000 metric tons, far lower than anything you will see on this trajectory, even the low in 2014, 2015. Look at that. And that is something we definitely have to look at, because it doesn't mean that because we are making a lot more from gold, which, by the way, is not so much because of an upping in production, it's because of the price of gold, we should let cocoa go. That is clear. Now, in terms of our economy, then you must also look at what is happening in other places where we get funding from. The United States. Now, Trump has been saying something. The U.S. has suspended foreign aid for 90 days. And the quote is this: no new funds shall be obligated for new awards or extensions of existing awards until each proposed new award or extension has been reviewed and approved. Stiffer issues to deal with in terms of the release of funds. But how much do we usually get from the United States in terms of support? $130 million. What's the projection for this year? $138.7 million. This is what, if we don't get some actions right, thanks to Trump being in power, we could be losing. And that will take a hit. In fact, our economy will take a hit on the back of this. And the areas that usually this spending goes into, critical areas of our national life. Basic health. Now, you may sit in Accra and think, oh, all is well. You can walk in. Go to some of the rural areas and you will realize why this is important, especially for CHIPS compounds and others. Agriculture, maternal and child health, another crucial area. A lot of women suffer because in some rural areas, they can't even access easily maternal health care. Governments and civil society, and then HIV and AIDS, another crucial health issue. That is where all these sums of money go to help. Now, if you then look at another aspect of our financial life, Ghana's government has signed a memorandum of understanding with its official creditor committee. We've been hearing recently from the finance minister. Debt service relief from restructuring 2023 to 2026. You are looking at a sum of $2.86 billion. And in terms of 2025, the debt service relief stands at $657 million. It's not necessarily money we are getting. It's money that we would have paid, which we are not then going to pay, which we can use to do other things, to create room, fiscal space, and also take care of our developmental needs. Now, if you look at the debt service relief from restructuring, it's tapering down because, yes, I mean, we got that gargantuan sum, $836 million in 2023, 2024, $766 million. This year, we are getting $657 million, and next year, we are getting $604, which also means that we should be tightening our belts and using money judiciously, not necessarily money we are getting, but the space we are creating. Use it judiciously to shore up our economy, because the time may come where this will dwindle. And when it dwindles, hopefully, we are not heading back to the IMF. But this brings me to this point. I'm quickly getting to the end. You see, I always say that I don't support military regimes. I'll get there shortly. But some of what is said is so rational. The Burkinabe leader says, we have been receiving French aid for 63 years, yet our country has not developed. So cutting it off from us now will not kill us. Rather, it will motivate us to work and rely on ourselves. You see, I do not support coup d'etat. In fact, I would be the last person to support them. I'm not for military forays or interventions in politics. That's not their place. But while that's not what we train them for, some of the military leaders in our neighboring countries are saying and acting, doing things we need to pay attention to and learn from. Yes, the mere fact that someone toes a line that you do not subscribe to does not mean everything about them and everything they do is wrong. It reminds me of the story of a university professor whose tire came off while driving back home after a conference in a way that could have been fatal. There was no vulcanizer close by, and the closest was many miles away. It was also getting late. After many minutes of puzzling over what to do, a lunatic close by suggested that he use the tools in his boot to take a bolt from each of the 3 remaining tires and use those 3 bolts to fasten the last tire and drive at minimal speed till he arrived at the vulcanizer's place. A lunatic taught this learned man, a university professor, something useful. In like manner, we can take useful lessons from what some of these military leaders are saying and doing. I have followed some of their actions, and I actually am inclined to believe, while I'm completely against military rule or incursions in democracies, that some of what they espouse makes absolute sense. After all, we are even drawing great lessons today from Ignatius Kutu Echampo and Dr. Eo Abudu's Operation Feed Yourself. That was a policy of a military regime. Today, Burkina Faso's leader suggests self-sufficiency through focusing inwardly rather than always depending, doing beggy loans from abroad. And it's doable. After all, did the erstwhile administration not talk of Ghana beyond aid? They did. Which is why we have to pay attention to stuff like this. Now, I ask you, look at all of these plans, 63, 64, 7-year development plan, at least in Nkrumah and some of the things they did well. 1996, Ghana Vision 2020, how did it end? 2002, Ghana's Poverty Reduction Strategy, the GPRS, how did it end? 2018, Black Star Rising, 40-year plan. Where is that plan now? Can it be found? 2019, Ghana at 100. We are looking at 2024, Vision 2057. All these plans, where did they end? Your guess is as good as mine. Which is why, as I end, I want to celebrate again Burkina Faso producing their first locally made electric car. I'm not talking of what Ghana is doing. You go and bring VW. It's a good thing. It will lower the prices of things. But you're not producing any parts. You're not doing anything. You're just recycling. Look at what the Burkinabes are doing. They are not even a normal car. They are producing electric vehicles. This is what you do, and this is what you apply a 24-hour economy to ensure that you are cutting costs, creating jobs, and doing a lot more. Again, this is my final slide. Another malaise we must cure to save money. I saw recently the MMDAs and financial irregularities, Auditor General's report. Look at how much we are bleeding every year, these MMDAs. In fact, there are years where the MMDAs have paid people to collect taxes. And that salary has been more than what they collected. Ghana, look at this trend. 9.13 million irregularities, 72 plus million in 2016. Look at all these irregularities. How do we develop? Ghana for, ladies and gentlemen. This is what must change, and we are all a part of it. And as we change, Ghana will be better. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for staying for my blunt thoughts today. As always, I've delivered it raw, hot, and edited, undiluted.